Hello and welcome to the 42nd episode of Tailoring in Conversation. My name is Reza, and in this series I'll be talking to tailors, business owners, cloth merchants and other industry participants from all around the globe to gain a better insight into their worlds. My guest for today is Holly Robbins. Holly is the founder and head tailor of the Holly Robbins Bespoke Studio, a Savile Row trained collective atelier of trouser and waistcoat makers based in London. In our conversation for today, we're going to be talking about the process of setting up our atelier, training staff, work culture, and much more. So let's go. Holly, it's been like a long time trying to get this talk organized. I'm very happy that we have managed to organize it. The first question I have to ask you is, where are you now and how are you doing?
Right now I'm at home and I'm well. Tired is the honest answer. Yes, as you know, it's always busy this time of year with work, so I'm a bit tired, but yeah.
How many hours have you been working the last month?
Well, yeah, too many hours. Yeah, about 14 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, but like I've said to you before, some of that is circumstance with one of my team members breaking her hand, unfortunately. So yeah.
Yes. So how many hours do you usually make when everything is kind of like going smoothly? What's your daily work?
We still probably do, around a day that's like 8 till 6. So still probably putting a good 50-hour a week. But unlike some people, I don't hate my job. I love my job still. So 8 till 6 to me, I'm always like, oh, if I could just do that, that would be good. And some of my friends are like, Chloe, that's still a lot. And I'm like, but no, that's I'd be happy with that.
Yes. Well, it's strange when it starts to feel normal, whereas for most people, a 40-hour or 45-hour work week is already quite a lot. But when you go into the 80s and the 70s and the 60-hour work weeks, that's a bit weird, right?
Yeah, it does. It's a bit, you start to not really know what day it is and stuff like that, definitely. Yeah.
So you have done a lot. You've built a lot of things now, and you are in the process of developing that further. And I will ask you questions about that. But before we get into that, I'd like you to kind of like in a compressed, in a nutshell, basically, tell the viewers and the listeners what your background is. I mean, how did you get into tailoring in general? What was the trajectory, and how did you get to where you're at now?
Yes, I think it definitely started from when I was younger. I think I was probably at home, making like dresses out of bin bags and stuff, just like sellotaping things together all the time. And my mum was just like, I don't know what to do with that, because, there's not really anyone creative in my family, not in that respect anyway. Very, my mum loves her music and she can play the keyboard and stuff like that, but not really like that sort of arts and crafts creative. But we have a family friend who used to have all her older lady friends over every Wednesday for a bitch and stitch. So my mum was like, do you want to go?
What did you say?
Called like a bitch and stitch. That's what they call it, just drink tea and do their sewing and gossiping. Yeah, that's what they called it. So I went along, 12-year-old me, and I was very quiet and shy then. I just sort of sat in the corner, but like I said, this family friend, Jill, she taught me all the really old school crafts. So embroidery, cross stitch, those sort of things, even like lace making, like with the wooden bobbins and stuff. Yeah, so she taught me all those things. And in turn with that, she used to work in the local haberdashery shop. So I got my first job there as well. That could be quite interesting. Sometimes you get like older ladies coming in, like looking for an adult, thinking she's not going to know. And I'm like, oh, actually, and have this of information about arts and crafts. Yeah. Obviously was doing like art and textiles at school and stuff like that, and A-levels, and I was also quite academically clever, so I think it was always a given that I would go to uni. It just it wasn't really that I wouldn't, I just assumed I would. But it was like, okay, Holly, so what do you want to do, fashion or textiles? Neither. I'm certainly not a fashion designer. I don't really like drawing because I can't. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I like things I'm good at, so So I definitely didn't want to do fashion design, because it was the hands-on, crafts that I loved. And textiles, I think at that age, you think, textiles? What am I going to do with knitting and weaving? That's what I thought it was. I couldn't really figure it out. So I saved up my money from my haberdashery shop, and I did an adult learning course in Walthamstow in pattern cutting. Something that stood out to me when I had to do a foundation year, and it was mathematical, logical, straight lines, rulers, but we also created something, which I think, if I was going to sum myself up, that's a good way of summing me up. So I did a year of that, and then luckily I did, and because that's when the bespoke tailoring at LCF had just started. So the original year when I was looking, it didn't exist. So sort of made, to take this year out, and good thing I did, because when I read the prospectus for that, I thought, well, this is it, isn't it? It's got the tailoring, it's got the straight lines, the maths, but also the hand sewing, which goes back to all that embroidery and stuff that I already had a great handle on. So so I applied. A very excited interview, just wanted to keep thrusting in their face how much I loved sewing. I think I remember just doing that a lot. And when the interview was over, I said, look, I just want you guys to know, I really think I'll be good at this, and they were like, Polly, we got it. So I actually walked out of there thinking I think I got that, and I did. So that's where my actual tailoring journey began. Like I said, I'd already done some pattern cutting and stuff like that, so I was familiar with that. And in second year back then, you used to have to do your work placement for a full term. So it was a full 3 months. I was probably still kind of quiet and shy at that age. So the thought of going to Savile Row was a bit daunting. But I lived in East London, so I applied to Timothy Everest, based in Spitalfields. It felt easy, comfortable maybe, And my old boss there, Lee, I think, again, he just saw what I'd made, and he said, well, what is it you want to do? And I said, well, make, definitely. He said, all right, yeah. So I did my 3-month work placement there. A lot of alterations, ones that you'll never forget. I don't know, the sun alterations on old, the smell of the steam combined, it never leaves you.
The seat seam.
The seats, waist, there's a lot of old sweat in there. Yeah, so a lot of that happened. So I'd say that I cut my teeth doing that, and because I was also working at H&M 2 days a week. I come from a poorer family, so I had to work throughout my degree. But again, my boss Lee came down and he said, well, do you want to stay here 2 days a week, do alterations while you finish your degree, and we'll pay you the same as H&M? And I thought, inside I was like, yes, but cool, thanks, and I sort of feel like, in a way, the rest is history, but also so much has happened since then. So that's really where it began. I walked out of uni straight into trousers, because they only had an in-house trouser maker at the time at Timothy Everest. And Maria, her name was, she taught me trousers, and together we learned other ways of doing things that we both liked, or we'd go and investigate other tailors' ways, and we came up with our way. And I went self-employed a few years later. I was 26 when I went self-employed, and I guess that would be the next chapter. So
absolutely. So before we go to the next chapter, could you either move the camera or move yourself so that you're a bit more centered?
Yes.
Because you're kind of drifting. Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah. No, that's perfect. All right. Okay. So you kind of grew up making things, being surrounded by people who made things. So that all influenced your interest, and then you pursued that further. Went to LCF and then Timothy Everest. Did you ever had a moment where you thought, the opportunity for making trousers is present now for me, but I actually want to, what they say, make everything, be able to make everything? Or were you kind of pretty focused on, no, I want to focus on this and master this and nail this?
I definitely, the trousers is what was offered to me, so I took it. Like I said, I come from a family where my mum worked 3 jobs at one time in my life, so I think it just sort of is built in me, it was a job, and it was a job that I wanted. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it to my very best, and I'm going to be good at it. You know, I think that was more my mentality. It wasn't necessarily, I definitely didn't think I wanted to make trousers, but that was the opportunity. And I knew I was incredibly lucky to walk out of uni or still be at uni, and that opportunity was already arising, you know. So, yeah. But obviously, as tailors and artisans, we know, you know, maybe it is better to focus on the one thing and be the best at it. And that's
Absolutely.
what I decided to do.
Yeah. Well, that you are a very active person, and the reason why I asked that question is because I'd like to know from your stance as an active person. Were you kind of like, because you have a lot of energy, and was it so that you invested all that energy into one thing, or did you want it to do a fuller scope? But you've started your own atelier. You have multiple people working with you. You are producing for multiple houses, and you do big productions as well. So it's not that you're making one trouser a month or so.
No.
What was the process of setting up your own atelier? Because at some point you learn what you have to learn, but then you also have to be able to, well, run something that hasn't got anything to do with making a trouser. But you also have to be a leader for the people you're working with. Could you sketch like an image for us?
Yeah, I guess it's sort of, I guess it started to happen organically. I'd say in the past couple of years, it's really exploded into something that I feel sometimes is actually a little bit out of my control, and I'm having to try to rein it all in, you know. So I, like you, once I worked from home, and my workshop took over my front room and all that, and my friend said, Holly, you know, you need a workshop now. So I did that. I shared a space with a great woman. We're still friends. Well, she was making jewelry from rubber bands. Very bizarre. If you ever met her, makes total sense. But yeah, so we shared this space, and she could see me just always working. You know, the work's coming in. I've been lucky that my reputation as a good trouser maker seemed to be out there. You know, I was always busy. And she said to me, you're so lucky, you get to do the part of the job that you love. You're just sewing all the time. But she's like, I think you need some help, you know. She kept saying it and saying it. She just you know, the LCF was on Mare Street at the time, and my studio was in Hackney, literally down the road. And it did. I got to a breaking point where I was like, yeah, if I'm going to keep trying to take on this work and build a reputation and more, then I need help. But it's that letting go, isn't it? It's like, oh, you've got to trust someone to do it. I think I started to get the interns. I had some guys with me for years for their whole degree, so they must have liked me and what they were doing. But I think at first I was really giving them just cutting out little bits of fit up, going to town and back. Like I was really reluctant to sort of let go properly, but slowly but surely with some of them, like I said, that were with me for a long time, I started to trust a bit more, and they started doing more and more of the prep for me and stuff like that. And then I moved in the same space I was in a couple of times to a corner where it was a bit bigger. We could have 2 tables, you know, and then the room next door became available, and that's big enough for 3 people. So I realised then it was good to have 2 tables so the interns, it could be more flexible. So it's still just interns and students, and I could do a bit more work that way. And I also quite enjoy like teaching these guys, you know, because my workshop appealed to the people that wanted to make stuff. So it was quite nice to have, you know, that sort of giving back thing. Yeah, and then when COVID hit, I think I had one girl with me, Ellen, who I knew, like she'd already done 3 years of tailoring in Sweden. So she was obviously great when she came to me already. So I think quite quickly with her, I relinquished a lot of work, and she was sort of making the base and stuff like that. So we did COVID. We did a few months at home, you know, quiet for a few months. And I said to her, look, I think when we come out of this, I think, you know, I'd like to try and do something here with you and maybe employ you. Like you could just do my bastes and my finishing, you know, because they're 2 things I can compartmentalize completely and I can pay you for. Because this is it. I'm still just a sole trader. You know, I'm getting paid per pair. So it's really difficult. You got to think about, how can I do this? Like I can't pay someone a salary. I can't give them holiday. They have to be the same as me in a way. So how can I build this person up, and we can make that happen? Yeah, so she was obviously over the moon. She said, yeah, you know, I said, it's going to be peanuts. I said, I've got no idea how much I can pay you, but she was really up for like coming on this journey with me. And I'm lucky for that as well, that she said, yeah, I'm here for
Wow.
it, you know. Very, very quickly, as we started to come out of COVID, it became clear that, okay, Ellen, we need to find someone else to do base and finishing. You need to just be another me. I now know that I need someone else who can do everything I can do. Because again, a lot of cutters got made redundant because of COVID. So they're now out on their own, but you're still working for the house. So it felt like it suddenly grew, you know, or cutters that have left the house that I haven't worked for years are getting back in touch because they're on their own, you know, all this stuff. And the TV and film. So taking on, a couple of new shops that a lot of their work is TV and film, which hard work because the deadlines are crazy. But as far as business goes, it made good sense because sometimes they need multiples, you know, they need 10, 15 of things if it's an action sequence. So that's us like coming out of COVID. And I'd say, it very quickly has just escalated from that point of like me and Ellen saying, okay, I think let's do this together then. We'll get a bigger workshop and we'll get more interns, but you're not an intern anymore. You're going to be, you know, with me in this. And then we found Rebecca to be the new Ellen. So Ellen's the new me, Rebecca's the new Ellen. And again, we've said to Rebecca, right, we'll start you on, you know, base and finishing. We were, again, lucky with Rebecca. She'd already started at Henry Paul before COVID. But unfortunately, because of COVID, they couldn't keep her on. But I'm more than happy with that. So I've got her now. Yeah, and I think we're all of a similar mindset, you know, young women. We all have the same mentality towards our craft, which I think is important now that we are working in this workshop together, you know. And now we need a new Rebecca.
Right.
So it's sort of like it's worked with Ellen, you know, and it's worked with Rebecca, and now we have another girl who's just come on. She's just graduated. She's been interning with us for a while, and I'm going to offer her the same situation, you know, part-time to start with. So hard to start with on apprentice wage, but as soon as she can do base and finishing, she gets paid, and then we just scale each one up accordingly, basically.
Okay. So three things come up my mind from what you just explained. The first is that you are replacing yourself, and the person who you replace yourself with replaces themselves, and so you're in a replacement cycle, and that's a very important thing. And I don't think many tailors do that, at least consciously. So can you tell a little bit about that to begin with? Why do you do that? How do you make sure that it happens consistently? Because if you are at some point like replaced 20 times, then you're pretty far attached from the person who replaced you in the beginning. How do you ensure that the person who is now you 20 people further down the line is still maintaining the standards, maintaining the quality, the vision, and all of that? Let's begin with that, and then I'll ask my other question.
Is a good question, because this does seem to keep expanding. So it's something I'm always considering. At the moment, you know, I can keep an eye on most things, but it basically what I've come up with is that I think it's going to be me and Ellen is my number two, and she will be the person that we run the business together. So if I'm away, I can trust her implicitly. People can call her for things and everything like that. She's going to work more on those more complex jobs that I think we're well known for. And she is now stepping in, literally with the new girl, Ada, to help me teach base and finishing. She was like, I can do that with my eyes closed as well now, Holly. She does it the way I do it because I taught her. So I think we've decided between us, it will be us two that maintain the quality and the control. Whereas with then like Rebecca, the third person, I don't think now I would give her the responsibility of training the next person, because she needs to finish her training on trousers. So everyone's sort of at different levels. So that's one thing we're doing. Another thing is also like compartmentalizing our business even more. So maybe actually like offering people, okay, your job, it's just based. So that way, if they're only doing the one thing, started off only doing trousers, but now seems to do, you know, loads. We'll make sure they're only really good at that thing first. You know, so it's if you section it off and don't give someone new everything at once, you can maintain some control over what they're doing. Most of the time, me and Ellen will still give everything its final press. You know, the bastes and everything like that. So that's obvious quality control, isn't it? Because we're inside it, we're outside it. our workshop is laid out so that everyone is facing inwards. Or I'm sort of down one end because I'm the boss and everyone else down there. But we can all see each other and each other's tables. So it's quite easy for me and Ellen to flick our heads up and see what's going on and spot what everyone's doing. So the bigger it's getting, obviously that is difficult. But I've taken on the arduous task of ensuring that I, and now Ellen, teach these people our way. It's our way or the highway, as they say, It is an arduous task. It is hard because I'm continually teaching, trying to work, trying to now run a business, maintain a workload. Like it's a lot, but hence the 40 nowadays, I guess.
Yes, well, that explains it. So if you continue replacing yourself and you're scaling the workshop, do you ever see yourself not making anymore?
No.
Definitely stay making as well.
Yeah, always. It's what I love, and the reason that Ellen's up for sort of stepping in and helping me teach and run the business is to give me back my time to continue to make. So to share that one is great. There's no way I'd want to sit there and just be, running a business, doing the workload. No way. But again, I'm putting myself in a difficult position then as well, really, because I'm trying to do everything, but there's no way the sewing.
Okay. So then the other thing which is definitely necessary in that replacement procedure is being able to build trust.
Yes.
And so every person has their own set of principles and rules with interacting with others. And then when you kind of like put it in the context of a business, you also have the vision and the rules of the business. Sometimes the business and the person are one, so it's easy. But sometimes the business and the person may have different values or principles, and they may be conflicting. How do you build trust in the context of a business with the people who you train and hopefully one day allow to replace one person or yourself or someone else?
It's a good question. I've been lucky where most people who have interned with me, I still have great relationships with, or I've helped them move on and things like that. But I have had a couple where trust wasn't there, and they may be left in ways that I'd rather they hadn't and stuff. But it's all business, I suppose, and they've got to do what they've got to do. But I feel like every time I'm trying to learn from those things, because a big part of my business model essentially it is trust, definitely, and especially if I'm giving my time to teach, so I think having the people come in to intern first is a really big part of that, and they're coming essentially for free. Then I cover their travel and their lunch and stuff like that when they intern, and I think that really suits someone who's at uni still because they've got their student living costs, but and most people who come in for that, you really then use that time to get a sense of them. Do they like the same things we like? Do they have the same investment in the making as we do? Or, a lot of tailoring graduates think they want to go and be a designer, and you think this isn't for you. So, I think that interning process is probably where I start to gauge the person and the because if I am going to give everything, I do know now that I can trust that person. I've got no problem with people wanting to move on or whatever, but just give me a heads up.
Yes. At least you would want them to be clear about that. Yes.
Let's be clear. Let's be honest. And a mentor friend of mine who actually runs a recruitment business. She's a head honcho, and we're like a same age. One of my best friends. She has like a saying: "It's clear is kind, unclear is unkind." And when she told me that, I really took that on and thought, that's a really good thing. And I even say it to Rebecca and Ellen. We have that, so we talk very openly about our business model. How can we improve it? Do we trust this person to come on board with us next? And like that is, I think that's a good saying for trust. If we're all clear with each other, then we're being kind to each other. And if we're sort of hiding and deceiving, it's not a very nice thing to do, is it? So
and very inefficient as well.
Yeah.
So when someone joins the workshop and you introduce them to the things that you're doing, how do you communicate the vision you have for the company, and then show them how they currently fit in that vision and how they could progress in the future in another area in that vision?
I think so. These are the things where I feel like at the moment I'm trying to learn like thick and fast. And I also, like, again, under the advice of my friend who I just mentioned, Joan, I've taken a life coach. Because this is like a huge time of change for me, and something I'm not used to. I wasn't designed to be a boss, I don't think, although she's helping me realise I am. So so I'm doing just more bizarrely normal office-based systems in my workplace, which to my friends are like, yeah, we do that all the time, and I'm like, I don't know, I've just so again, and this life coach has helped me like realise some of those things and how to maybe be a bit more assertive, and when the young people come in now, I have to be more like, okay, I'm in charge, but so we have just like Monday morning meetings. I'm writing proper job specs now for the intern. So this is the intern one. This is what you do when you're intern.
Right.
But also with a view to becoming an apprentice. And the apprentice one, like what I'd commit to teaching them and what they would get, it's like what we give back to each other, if that makes sense. So
Yes, absolutely.
I think if you're coming on as an apprentice, obviously it's a tough gig, because the pay is really difficult to start with. But that's why I like to write in this job spec what I'm committing to teaching you, though, so they can see what they're getting from me. And also at the end of that, what it could lead to potential employment in this role. Like I said, that we've compartmentalised finishing, bastes, maybe waistcoats, because people keep sending me those. And again, that's something I'd be happy to teach someone and let go of, because it's not really what I'm known for, so to speak. But
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you have those specs when you were apprenticing? Did you know what's next always? Kind of like, if you do this to this standard as described in this procedure kind of like list, then you will be able to do X, Y, Z.
No, I don't think so.
Do you think it would have been beneficial for you, or didn't it really matter?
God, I don't think it would matter to me. I was just so happy to have a job and be sewing. I was so happy to be there. But I think young people now are different. I'm going to say that. And I do think they do need this. A lot of them, they want to know quite often, well, what is next? What's happening? And sometimes I feel like we have to remind them to slow down a bit as well. That's in the future. So I think it's good to lay it out for them. Like, you have to go through all these things first, and so you could ever be at the level I'm at, or what Ellen's at. Especially in our industry, there's so much to learn, So no, I said I think I was just very happy to be there at the time. So
no, that makes sense. So as your workshop grows and develops, people are partially dependent on you and how you kind of like guide them through the process of just being in that workshop, even if they know their work really well. And so you start to develop and kind of like organically form some sort of a culture, the Holly Robinson workshop culture, let's say.
Yeah.
What do you do actively to design the culture you want? How do you make, let's say, how do you turn unwritten rules into written rules? Or how do you make sure that everyone can also contribute their ideas in the workshop? And so, like you said, you have Monday morning meetings. So what sort of systems do you put in place so that the person who is maybe just starting out, doesn't know anything about making, but has great ideas, can also contribute?
Yeah. Well, I would say straight off the bat that Ellen was definitely one of those people. I think personality-wise, because we're very similar, so we find it very easy to talk to each other. And we also now have between me, Ellen, and Rebecca, because we're the main three. Every 3 months, we have like a really big meeting.
Right.
Where we discuss, and really open to like, what do you guys want from me? How can I help you get, like, with Rebecca, maybe she doesn't want to do finishing anymore because she wants to pass that on and she wants to elevate. Like, I'm really open. I'm open to anything really, because I've never really run business before, you know, and I definitely want it to feel like we're a collective. We've sort of come across that word, and we've sort of taken that on board. Like, I don't, you know, I'm in charge, but it's also a group thing. And I think when new people come in, because like I said, me and Ellen know each other well enough now, she's probably happy to shout down the room, "Oh, Holly, I was thinking, why don't we try this?" You know, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So I think because you see that happening between us, you can see that it's that. And also, I'm just very vocal a lot of the time about some stuff. Like, I think the make of the trousers is the make of the trousers. It's sort of my way, and that's that. Because for my work, everything has to leave consistent. But other things, you know, like we make a lot of just skirts for Eden Ravenscroft, you know, the judicial stuff. And with Rebecca, I said, you know what, Rebecca, if you've got some good ideas here, feel free. Let me know what they are. I'll see if I agree and whatever, and you can sort of take that on. Because, again, it's a separate entity that I'm happy to hand over to someone to do. Yeah, so I think and we keep like a really open workshop. We have the radio on, and I put in the job spec that we are device-free and headphone-free. Because you learn the most in that environment when people are chatting about work and everything. But you know, I think stuff like that. Off track there, but that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. So I'd like to kind of like dissect one thing you said. You said when it comes down to the trouser, it's my way.
Yes.
But you also simultaneously say you're very open to ideas. So what if someone says, "Hey, Holly, I think we can do this on the trouser better," and I've made like 4 samples on different fabrics or different scenarios. Would you be open to that?
Yes, it has happened with Ellen. This is it. I think for me at the moment, Ellen, because I have the trust with her so much. She said, "Holly, I've started doing the insides different. Not different, just I've realised if we do these 2 things at the same time, it's quicker." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we could do that." So definitely, I think for me, I guess I would probably want to see this person hitting a certain level first before they start to give me their idea. I think experience speaks for itself, and once you've made 100 trousers, if you you want to do something slightly differently, I am open to hearing it. I think as long as it doesn't impact the quality of what we're doing 100%, and the outcome aesthetically looks the same. Oh sure, if you want to machine that instead of whipping it by hand, these small things, of course, because that's what I did. I went around and I tried someone's way, and I thought, oh, I like doing this way. So I shouldn't expect other people to not want to do that or have that inquisitive mind towards it. But I think you have to earn my respect first.
Right. So, and this is a very, very good kind of like, topic almost, because this is pretty much how it goes in all workshops. And I think not just in tailoring workshops, but generally when people are working together and there is a mentor or a teacher-apprentice relationship, that teacher always does want to have to see that the apprentice has done enough work to be able to contribute in the end result. So what do you do with people who have no experience, but man, do they have good ideas?
They're the difficult ones. They're, you know, or sometimes you come across a person you really like and they're so passionate, but my workshop, you know, it's very high octane, it's very fast moving, and I do sort of need people to know what they're doing before they come to me. But I'm really happy I meet everyone. Anyone who messages me on Instagram, I get loads of messages on this, you know, I'm really happy to meet them and just give them like my advice on their work or their work, you know, and stuff like that. Or maybe advise that they could go somewhere else to practice first, you know. My workshop's so hands-on and practical that I do need that experience. I've done it with people I like that are really beginners, and I've found it quite difficult because of the nature of my business. It is a bit of a beast. So it
makes sense. Because you do eventually need people to produce, and that eventually your business won't function if there is no production. So it's not like a, like you say, a collective Sunday club that just talks about ideas. Yeah.
No, and for me, of course, like I mentioned before, you know, I'm still a sole trader. I'm paid per piece, so every minute of my time is spent trying to help someone like that. I'm not earning money. If I'm not producing, I'm earning. So it's this fine line of how do you still sort of help people without affecting my own business or my own income even. You know, it's a difficult juggling act, and one that I'm constantly, I feel like, reacting to and trying to find the best ways of dealing with, because I do like to help people as well, you know, definitely. But yeah, it's a tough one. It is tough.
Yeah, I can understand that. So I like the word collective, and the reason why I like it is for the same reason that you described. It's almost like a small community of people who do have a direction, because like you are the head of that kind of like small group, but at the same time, it's not like a business, so it's like sole traders almost coming together and kind of like working. So what I'd like to ask you is, from what you've experienced so far, how beneficial do you think for the industry? How beneficial is it for the industry to have multiple collective workshops where people are making like jackets, you know, for multiple companies perhaps, or trousers, waistcoats? And do you think that they work better than businesses? So a collective workshop versus a tailoring business or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about if they work better or not. I think from what I've seen, I think it's working great. I'm going to say that because I'm doing it. But, you know, I think even for me, you know, like I said, I worked individually for so many years once I went self-employed, and it can be pretty lonely and stuff like that. Also, we've obviously just spoken about, you know, people coming with their new ideas, different ideas. And since having the collective and Rebecca and Ellen and everything, we do bounce ideas off each other, and we're changing what we're doing. So for that stuff, it couldn't be more important. You know, if you don't have the luxury of being in-house, which a lot, you know, there isn't enough space in-house, you know, those slots are like gold dust. I think somewhere like my workshop is a great place to be, just being in an environment with more than one tailor, listening to how they talk about, even just how they talk about the business maybe, or hearing, you know, like those nuggets of information about, oh, should we do this or that, you know, is invaluable. Yeah, and like bouncing ideas off each other is great. Not being in a room on your own, I think, is great. Done both sides, so I like it, and I think it would be cool if there was more of that. Because I guess maybe it would seem like for younger people coming into the industry that there is more of a place to go. You know, I think a lot of them think, well, it's Savile Row or nothing, and it's well, actually that's the case. You know, my workshop now is on the edge of like Walthamstow, Hackney. We overlook a lovely green space. It's beautiful. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be on Savile Row like that. But then, where are they going to get their experience? They can't just go and set up at home. So maybe workshop like this collective environment is a good space for up and coming, you know, young people to go as well. Yeah. So in that respect, maybe is it? What did you say? Because what's the other question? Is it better than?
Well, do you think that it would be better to have a collective workshop than to have a tailoring business, like just a tailoring company that cuts, makes, just like all the other ones?
I mean, for me, it's because I only really love the making part, and that's it. I think I found the people that I'm collecting up for my collective, we have that real passion for the craftsmanship, and again, not everyone wants. I don't want to be front of house. I don't want to talk to the customers. That's not what I'm doing here, you know. So yes, it could be better for some, not for others. You know, again, some young people don't know exactly what they want to do, so they'd be better off going to a house where they can see a bit of everything and deciding. But you do get the odd people that are pretty set on being the crafts person. You know, it's the place to be.
Do you, just so I understand better how your kind of like work is ran? Is everyone allowed to bring in work, or does it all go through you?
Well, everything goes through me just because it's naturally happened that way. I'm lucky enough to have I assume it's a good reputation out there, and word of mouth has spread, and people have told me, that work is reliable, consistent. So the reason this is happening and this atelier workshop has grown so much is because it's had to, for me to deal with the amount of work that people want to send to me. So everything does come through me. And like I said, now people talk with Ellen as well, so we sort of see it's us. People would be welcome if they knew someone who wanted to send us some work. And I think if that was to happen, again, because I'm open to conversation and reacting to what happens, if it was a work that they brought in, of course we can have a conversation then about financially what would that mean or whatever. But if they brought it in, it'd be a different setup because they've done something to get that themselves, sort of thing. Yeah, but they don't need to.
I see. Okay, so because what I'd like to understand as I'm speaking to you is how do you see your workshop, because it essentially is your workshop more or less, right? How do you see your workshop develop and grow in the future? Because it can go in the direction that maybe you have 5 people who are excellent workers and they suddenly manage to bring in work, and they are like, hey, we can bring guaranteed 20 trousers a month in. Then is it then still your workshop? Does it have to be then converted into a limited company? Would you like to turn it into? How do you see it develop?
Got no idea. Like I said, the past couple of years, it's all happened so quickly, from a workshop of 3 people to 5 people to 6 people in this one. My current workshop's bigger than my flat. You know what I mean? I'm just constantly trying to keep rolling with what's happening and figuring out what's best. In all honesty, I really don't know. I don't know. It's so difficult enough as it is. Again, as we've said, to keep control on the quality of the work and everything like that. So do I have to maybe put a limit on things and say, this is how we keep it now? We've got this structure. I'm happy with it. Maybe. I'm also one of those people that never seems to be happy. I also think that's why I've got to where I am with this workshop, because, some people are happy in a workshop in their house, just doing the craft. But I'm sort of like, okay, I've done that now. What next? So, maybe in a few years we'll have this chat again. And it'll be, like you said, maybe the limited company thing. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid it for as long as possible, because I don't know. I feel like if I did that, then I really would be, if I'm paying salaries and everything, I really would have to just run the business. Because that's something I want to avoid. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So until then, how do you choose the people you work with? What do you look for? What do they need to have in their personality? What do they need to have in their experience and professional kind of attitude? What's your list of, here's the list of what I'm looking for?
What I'm looking for? Yeah, I guess the passion is obviously massive. And I think, from the people I've collected so far, it's the people I'm drawn to and I think are drawn to me. We just have that really similar mindset around our craft and why we do it. I don't think any of us in the workshop necessarily own a bespoke suit. And we don't wear them, I'm just t-shirt and jeans. That's me. We're there for the love of what we're doing with our hands and our love of wanting to do it to the best of our ability and things like that. I think it's that mindset that I'm looking for. Yeah, I think that is the most important thing. And and the trust thing. This person, and are they good?
So let me go a little bit deeper into that. So how do you measure passion?
Gosh, I don't know. That's a difficult one. I think you can see it in people. I think as well now, I've had so many interns come from the uni who just do their work placements and stuff like that. I've got better at spotting. Okay, I think this one's got something, and I think for some of them that will come, 2-3 days a week while they're doing their degree, like I said, expenses only, and they're thanking me. They're thanking me, and I'm thinking, man, you're here for free. But they're so grateful to be there, and they're that stuff. I think I also looking for hard workers, 100%. Yeah, because I am, and I sort of expect it from other people. So I have a lot of respect and work for me for free while doing their degree, that sort of stuff. And I think that shows, obviously, must show passion for what they're doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. You know, one guy I have now, he's coming from the other side of London. That when there was a tube strike, he slept at his friends in East London, so he could definitely get there. It's things you think, okay, these guys it's commitment, isn't it, as well? Commitment and passion. But I don't know how you can see the passion. I think you can see it once you get to fun. And like I said, those talks we have in the workshop over the machine and everything, you get to see it in them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're intuitively, you can see in the eyes of someone, the kind of like glaze of their eyes, you can see whether there is the love and the intensity. So you mentioned something earlier on. You said you were also good in the academic kind of like field.
I was. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that I notice a lot when I speak to tailors is that they tend to say, you know, I'm only good with my hands. I'd like to work with my hands. I'm not academic. I'm not, you know. And I think, yes, there is some truth to that, but it depends on how you define academic. Now, do you think that tailors would benefit for their crafts and just generally running their work, whether it's a business or a workshop or an individual whatsoever? Do you think they benefit from academic-like activities, like reading books on business or this, or having dialogues with a coach, or, I don't know, writing down systems of how can I make this work more efficient? What's your take on that?
I mean, that's a different, I guess it depends. It really depends on the person. Some people are happy just doing, not just doing, but, you know, like, doing the craft, and that's that, and they're really happy doing that. But like I said, for someone like me, I guess I'm always looking for more or whatever, then I would say definitely. Or again, for like younger people coming up, I think they would maybe benefit from it, because it's, like I said, it's not easy to get these gold dust apprenticeships on Savile Row, so they got to start thinking outside the box. Like, how can they make it on their own and not maybe rely on just getting that apprenticeship, you know? I don't know. So yeah, I think so. It's good. Stimulating the mind is good, but also helps stimulate, like I said, these new ideas, and not us not being so set in our ways of everything. You know? Yeah, I'd say.
I agree. I think that once you start to articulate your procedures and your process and the things that you're doing, you start to look at it in a very different way. And so once you start to see it in a different way, you're able to make new connections with other ideas that you may have heard of or you've seen other people do. And I think if, like you say, when you guys are talking together, like, hey, maybe we can do this more quicker, more efficient, better quality, whatsoever, I do think that even when you're working with your hands, when you're thinking of those things, those are academic activities as well. Yeah. Do you see them as academic activities, if I would ask you?
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. So I've written down a few things based on our conversation as we were talking, and I'd like to know, it's a speed round. I'd like to know the first thing that comes up your mind. If you can do it if you can do it in one word, it's even better. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Most influential person.
Oh gosh, in life or tailoring?
You choose.
Oh God, I don't know. I'd probably say, probably my mum, which is maybe a bit, Yeah.
No, that's good. Okay. Yeah. So running a workshop.
Hard.
Savile Row.
Not for everyone.
Not for everyone. If you could make 3 changes to the industry and you had a magic wand, what would those 3 changes be?
Odd. I think losing the mindset around Savile Row is the be all and end all. Like I said, I work for houses in Savile Row. I'm not pooh-poohing it at all. Sure. But it like my workshop's not there. I wouldn't be able to have my workshop on Savile Row. So it's not. There's so much other great work to be had out there to the same great quality. So that would be one. I don't know. More maybe like, I don't know. Well, we need to be more open. We all
Mm.
know that, I think. I sort of feel like maybe that one's a given, more open to the sort of people we're having in the industry. My workshop is always young women and stuff. I think there's there's that. What else? I don't know. What to? I'm stuck.
Okay. We'll move on to the next one. So, the most difficult thing in tailoring.
The most difficult thing.
Yeah.
Oh, probably like starting, just getting started. I think, it's not necessarily, I'm not going to say like, this particular pocket or something like that. I think getting yourself in there and over that first hurdle is probably one of the most difficult things. Yeah.
Right. I'm actually curious now. What do you find the most difficult thing in trouser making, despite the fact that you're a master trouser maker?
Most difficult. You know what? That's a tough one for me because I come across everyone's very complicated jobs, and sometimes I feel like I'm an engineer. When you're putting a secret hidden elastic vessels down in like waistbands and stuff like that. So it's those crazy jobs that I always say yes to. It's a mad. They are difficult, but at the end of it, you really feel like you've literally engineered and invented something. So
Okay, great stuff. So, leadership.
Hard.
Community.
Well, good. It's good. Yeah.
What do you wish you knew before you started your career?
Oh, God, I don't know. What do I wish I knew? No, gosh, I don't know.
Well, what do you wish you knew before you started your workshop collective?
Well, a bit more how to, just office stuff.
Yeah.
How to having meetings and run a business stuff. It's that really, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have to say this. You mentioned meetings, like for most jobs, it's such a normal thing to just have meetings. When I was on Savile Row, most of my colleagues and we wanted to have like some sort of a meeting, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
But then at some point, we pushed so much until we got some sort of kind of like those half-ass meetings where everyone feels like, what the hell are we doing? It's so awkward. Yeah. And when we did have them, it just was so weird that nobody wanted to do them ever again.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah.
But I agree, they are very important. Okay, so next one, efficiency.
Efficiency. Oh. I'm going to say like two minds are better than one. So I say two heads are better than one.
That's a great one. Okay, fantastic. Okay, culture.
I don't know.
We could say work culture to make it more specific.
Yeah. I don't know. I know you stuck on that one.
All right. Okay. So if you would say three things you look for when you're hiring, you already mentioned passion. What else?
Passion, commitment.
Yeah.
And a certain skill level.
Okay. So you don't prefer to train people from zero, even if you could?
I mean, I would probably say they're already at zero, but they've already got something. Like as in 0, 0.
Zero.
The idea of zero is probably not zero, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yes. So they know basic stitches and a little bit of they've sewn something before, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Alterations.
Oh well, the smell.
See, it seems.
I said, I did it for years at Timothy Everest Training and steaming old trousers.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible. Absolutely. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
For me, it's, the things that come out of them, you're like, what is
Yeah, it also, I shouldn't really say this, but I am going to say it anyway. It changes your perception of that particular customer as well.
Yes, yes.
So there should be some innovation around that to prevent that from happening. Okay,
Yes.
I've got two more. One of
Okay.
them is trust.
Trust. Well, I just yeah, trust. I don't know what my first reaction is. Like, I sort of want to say again, hard. It's hard to find. You know. Yeah.
Scarce.
What
Would
was
you
it?
say scarce?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And then last but not least, Holly Robbins.
Oh. Oh. Well, you said energetic. I'm energetic.
Absolutely.
I
You
know
know,
that I'm energetic.
talking to you is like kind of like sparring with like a firework. It's just like there.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love it. I think we
Yeah.
need more people with that level of energy that you have, because the combination of your energy and not being satisfied or with what you do and wanting to do more, I think
Yeah.
is very good for the industry. It's good for the community. It inspires people. So well, thank you for this conversation. I immensely enjoyed it, and I look forward to visit your workshop maybe one day.
Yeah. Yes, you should. You should. Definitely.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you. And that was Holly. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. If you'd like to see more of Holly or you want to get in touch with her, check out the link to her Instagram in the description of this video. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, please let us know, and we sure hope to see you again in the next episode. Until then, bye bye.